Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand.
But I am here to report, when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
Frankly, we did win this election. This is a major fraud in our nation.
The presidential race is a nail-biter. Tonight, co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics, Tom Bevan, is here.
There was a distorted view of what the reality was on the ground.
We're very close to getting to the 270 electoral college votes that we need. When he becomes president of the United States, he's going to push a moderate centrist agenda.
And former deputy national press secretary for the Democratic Party, Jose Aristimuño, is back.
Election nights today look exactly the same as they did when Walter Cronkite called them in 1964 or something, except for now they're in color and have fancier sets, and the world has changed.
I'm also talking with pollster and political analyst Scott Rasmussen.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that the military is not a monolith, and they're a reflection of this country. So I think they're as diverse as the 50 states of the Union.
And founder and executive director of Iraq and Afghanistan Vets of America, Paul Rieckhoff, joins me right now in America This Week, United We Stand. Welcome to America This Week, United We Stand. Election Day, just like the rest of 2020, felt like a day that just would not end. The presidential race was too close to call in some states for days, but separate battles for control of the House and Senate also played out. Sinclair's chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, has more on the balance of congressional powers.
All right, let's talk about the balance of power, because the president may have the top job, but you want congressional cooperation to get a lot done. And House Democrats thought not only would they hold the majority, which it appears they will, but they thought they would grow by perhaps as many as 15 seats. Instead, they've lost more than a handful of incumbents and failed to oust several Republicans in seats they would. So the blue wave not as strong as predicted. The same goes in the Senate, where they really just needed to gain 3 or 4 seats to make a big difference. Instead, Republicans holding strong in some tough Senate races, like in Iowa, like in South Carolina. They flipped a seat in Alabama, although Democrats have also flipped a seat, like in Colorado, and they believe they'll do the same in Arizona. There's also a runoff that's going to take place in Georgia, so still a lot to watch. But for the most part, the idea of wresting control away from Republicans in the Senate looking much slimmer, those hopes, than they did just a couple of days ago. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Joining me now is the co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics, Tom Bevan. Tom, thank you for joining us, man. It is just hectic, crazy stuff going on here. You know, I heard about a blue wave. I heard about a blue wave for probably close to a year now. When push came to shove and the election happened and is happening, I didn't see any blue wave. What happened?
I mean, listen, once again, I think the polls to a certain degree and the pundits, once again, the media just absolutely, botched this election. Look, there were 2 sets of pollsters. There were 2 worldviews out there. You had the sort of more, let's call them Trump-friendly pollsters like Robert Cahaly at the Trafalgar Group, Susquehanna, Insider Advantage, Rasmussen, and then you had sort of the traditional mainstream media polls, ABC News, Washington Post, New York Times, Siena, Emerson, those sorts of NBC Marist, and those folks overestimated Joe Biden's support across the board, in some cases by upwards of 8 to 10% in some of these states. And so I think there was a distorted view of what the reality was on the ground, particularly in the final days, because President Trump sort of went on a tear. He was all over the place. He was firing up his base, and there was movement in some of these battleground states. But if you had those other pollsters in there, I think a lot of folks waved it away and said there's no real tightening. This has been a really stable race, and so that, I think, contributed to the idea that we were going to see a blue wave on Tuesday, and it did not happen.
So here's what happened. In 2016, I saw the same thing happening. I saw the turnout, the enthusiasm for Trump versus Hillary Clinton, but the polls were saying Hillary Clinton was going to win. The New York Times had her at 90%. This same thing started to happen. I pointed that out, what you just said. You look at what over the last 2 or 3 weeks prior to the election, President Trump was getting 15, 20, 25,000 people. Joe Biden was having 7, and the polls weren't budging towards Trump. And I said, the same thing's happening. But here's the pushback I got. No, they got burned in 2016, and they're much better at it in 2020.
Right.
But in fact, they weren't, were they?
No. And I mean, how many pieces did we read that said, hey, everybody, relax. 2020 is not 2016, and here's why. Biden's favorables are higher than Hillary's. Trump's an incumbent. I mean, there was the list went on and on. District polling was much stronger for Biden this time around, and it collapsed on Hillary. So there were a number of excuses. And once again, look, this is what happened in 2016. The polls weren't that bad. Certainly the national polls were better, and some of the state polling. But what was bad were the pundits, and they filtered all of the data, right, through this preconceived narrative that there was no way Donald Trump could be elected. He's a clown, he's a loser, whatever, and Hillary's this, statesman-like figure. Once again, they took this data, right, and filtered it through the lens of there's no way Trump can win because of the economy, because of COVID, because of all of these things.
You are touching on something so important, and it's something I've been saying. I've been doing this for about 15 years, 12 or 14 years on television. It's a laziness. So pundits, rather than doing their homework and thinking about what's really going on, they'll take a poll and say, wow, this kind of fits my narrative. I kind of like this, and I don't really have to do the homework myself, so I'm just going to run with this. And it really, what ends up happening, Tom, is when the actual votes happen and the polls are so far off, it frustrates, it creates anxiety with the voters who expected the poll to be right and that pundit to be right, when the reality is they were far away. So how do we fix this?
Well, so again, it's complicated, right? Again, you had a series of pollsters that were pretty close, right? That had it more right than anybody else. And then you had this other, and we're a polling aggregator. We put those two together, and we had 5 states, I think, that were about a percentage point or less in terms of being competitive. Arizona, which is going to be, I think, in the final analysis, competitive. Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, right? All of those were very competitive. Some of the states, but there were misses. We had Ohio. Our average had Trump leading by 1%. Yeah. He won it by 8.
Hey, Tom, I'm running out of time, and I just have to ask you this question. You brought up Arizona. Was Fox premature calling Arizona as early as they did? What final thoughts?
In my opinion, they absolutely were. I mean, Joe Biden's lead was, I think, 200,000 votes with, I think, 70-something%. There's no reason to call that race that early with that much vote still left out, especially knowing that the election day vote was skewing toward President Trump heavily. Mm-hmm. And their refusal to call, Florida or Ohio or some of these states where President Trump had a very solid lead and 95, 96, 97% of the vote in, they snap call Virginia, they snap call Arizona. I think they botched it. I really do. And then they went on air and basically said, no, we're 100% right. So we'll see if they are or not. But I still think they made a mistake in doing it that soon.
Again, Tom Bevan, co-founder of RealClearPolitics. Great site. Go there, everybody. Check it out. Tom, thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Ahead on America This Week United We Stand, former Deputy National Press Secretary for the Democratic Party, Jose Aristimuño, discusses the role of the Latino vote in this election. And can we really trust the polls? Pollster and political analyst Scott Rasmussen breaks it all down for us next.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand America. United we stand. We stand America. United we stand.
Former Deputy National Press Secretary for the Democratic Party, Jose Aristimuño, joins us right now. Hola, Jose, ¿cómo estás?
How are you?
The reason why I'm speaking Spanish to you because I was so impressed with the GOP turnout, voting turnout in the state of Florida amongst Latinos. What's going on? The Democratic Party losing that Latino vote.
Well, look, we've known that Florida, obviously, it's not a surprise, first and foremost. We know that the Republicans have done a good job, to their credit, of lying to Latinos in Florida, saying that Biden's going to be the next socialist, that he's going to be the next Maduro, that he's going to turn the United States into Venezuela. So they've done a good job of lying to Latinos in Florida. I think it's paid off to them. But, you know, they haven't been able to do the same thing with Puerto Ricans, right? We've got 70% of the Puerto Rican vote because Puerto Ricans feel disrespected. They feel disrespected by this president.
Is it that, Jose, or is it that Puerto Rico wants statehood and they've been kind of promised that by the Democrats? So vote Democrat, you might get statehood from Puerto Rico.
Well, no. I actually think that it's that Puerto Ricans feel that Trump treats them like second-class citizens when he tried to sell the island off to Greenland after Hurricane Maria. That's the reality of it. That's what it is. But look, Eric, I think it's important to point out the Latinos are not just one voting bloc, right? You look at Latinos in Arizona, where Biden did pretty well, and we're going to take Arizona because of Latinos in that state. Latinos, Mexican Americans, Venezuelan Americans, Cuban Americans, Puerto Ricans, they're all different. I think they're all different. So I think it's important for both camps.
But Jose, Cubans vote for the Republicans. They're very, very much behind President Trump, Cubans. Venezuelans, as you point out, Cubans do it because they feel that, it's better policy, the better financial policy from the Republican. Venezuelans do it, as you point out, they're afraid of the socialist. But isn't that important? Why are Puerto Rican and maybe even Mexican Latinos, why are they so different from the Cuban and the Venezuelans?
Because they got different situations. I mean, Mexicans didn't run away in a sense from a communist country like Cuba or Venezuela. They just have different priorities sometimes. I mean, every voting bloc is different, Eric. That's part of democracy.
Does it not concern you as an American, forget Latin American, Latino American, or as you point out, Puerto Rican American or Puerto Rican, does it not bother you that people perceive the Democrat as a potential socialist? I mean, I do, and I've been here a long time. I think some of the Democrat Party policies are socialist policies. Take from people who are making a lot of money, give it to people who don't, bring everyone down, make everyone homogenous.
I think the attacks from the Republican Party, Eric, are exaggerated. You know very well that I've distanced myself very clearly from the ultra-left of our party, including Alexandria Ocasio and Bernie Sanders. I don't identify with them.
Biden has already said they're going to be part. Biden's already said Bernie might be his labor secretary. Ocasio-Cortez last Sunday on Jake Tapper's show said, yeah, as soon as Biden becomes president, I'm going to be in the White House, in the Oval Office, pulling the guy left. I mean,
do you really think, and I would really be surprised if you really think Alexandria Ocasio has any weight on Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been in politics for over 30 years.
Are you kidding me, Jose?
Zero influence.
This woman has got the ear of the Democrat, the young Democrat Party right now. As ridiculous as that, to me, as that seems, because I really think she's challenged with her financial astuteness. She does have the ear of the Democrat Party. She may take Chuck Schumer's Senate seat.
Look, it's not true. Look, President Biden, when he becomes president, because I'm optimistic, we're very close to getting to the 270 electoral college votes that we need. When he becomes president of the United States, he's going to push a moderate centrist agenda. He's going to have, I guarantee you, he's going to have Republicans in his cabinet. He's going to have Republicans in his cabinet.
Okay.
You want to make a bet today?
You want to know what? There's another bet we have. I think we have a dinner bet on who's going to win, but I'll take that. There is not one Republican in that camp. I mean, a real Republican. I'm not talking about these fake rhino Republicans, a real one.
Oh, now they're fake Republicans?
Jose Aristimuño, see you again very soon, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Let's go now to pollster and political analyst Scott Rasmussen. Scott, that first word, pollster. With the polls being so inaccurate in 2016, and then everyone said, no, we got this, we got better from the mistakes we made in 16. It turns out the pollsters didn't do better in 2020 than they did in 2016. They've been calling that for 4 years. What happened?
Well, first off, It's true. There were some mistakes made, especially Florida. My own polling expected that, with a strong Republican turnout, that will be a toss-up. Otherwise, it might lean to Biden. President Trump wins by 3 points. Seems pretty comfortable. A lot of the other polling we're seeing, we don't really know how it's going to turn out until all the votes are counted. My suspicion is that in the overall sense, the polling is going to be a little closer than the perception right now. Probably, as a matter of fact, my pre-election comments were the polls suggested a range of outcomes from a very narrow victory for President Trump to a somewhat modest victory for Joe Biden. And it looks like we're nearer the Republican end of that range, but at the moment, still looking like Joe Biden will end up pulling this out.
And Scott, you were one of the more accurate people in 2016. My problem is we heard about it in 2020. We heard about this big blue wave was happening. Biden was going to blow Trump out. The Senate was going to become Democrat. They were going to widen the lead in the House of Representatives. None of those came true. Frank Luntz on election night said, and he's been a pollster and a poll watcher and whatnot, said his profession is dead because of what's going on in 2020.
Yeah, and look, I think it is a broader thing than the polls. I think this is one of the problems we've had. Pollsters tend to get all nerdy and geeky about the numbers and were we within the margin of error, but instead there is a presentation made to the public. And last night, literally, we saw this being talked about in a way that didn't reflect carefully what the numbers said. So I think it's not just the polls that we have to look at. We have to figure out how we're going to handle turnout and other issues. But there needs to be a fundamentally different way of talking about the elections and the polls on election night. Last night, I thought one of the things that was really troubling, or on election night, one of the things I thought was really troubling was the fact that we kept hearing about, well, so-and-so's ahead by 10,000 or 20,000 votes, but we never had any sense of how many votes were outstanding. So that gave us all kind of a false impression of what was happening. But yes, this is a time that we need to rethink. Election nights today look exactly the same as they did when Walter Cronkite called them in 1964 or something, except for now they're in color and have fancier sets, and the world has changed. We need a different way to handle election night.
I think we need a different way to poll people, Scott. And this was my tip-off in 2016 when Trump was winning and no one saw it. People would come up to me on the street or in a restaurant or in a bar saying, "I'm going to vote for Trump." And I'd say, "Well, why do you have to whisper it?" That same attitude translated to a poll. So here's how a poll works. Correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of them are phone polls. People, their phone will ring, they'll answer the phone saying, this is a poll, who are you going to vote for? Generally, when the media paints one of the candidates out to be as racist and as misogynistic and as awful of a person that they've done to Trump, people aren't going to necessarily tell the truth. Is there a way to get people to be more truthful when they're polled via phone?
Well, first off, I think you're right if you're talking about phone polling, and especially operator-assisted polling, where a human being calls and says, who are you going to vote for? I didn't do any live operator polling this year, and I think phone polling as an industry is completely dead. We have been inviting people via text and other ways to participate. I do believe you get a more honest answer there.
But Scott, allow me.
There are challenges.
Do you get more honest? Because now, I mean, even if you're online, you're worried about this is going to go to some social media site or something. I'm still hiding.
Could be. And look, one of the things that we will find out is how close the polls turn out to be when all the votes are counted. I would expect that we'll see Joe Biden winning a popular vote margin in the mid-single digits, which is kind of where the polling came out, other than the operator-assisted polls. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we're going to see is, yes, it takes a real lot of effort to reach out to white voters in rural America without a college degree. Yeah, it is if you don't make a special effort to reach them, you're going to have trouble. Beyond that, is there bias? Yes.
Scott, I got to leave it right there. Thank you so much again. Scott Rasmussen, one of the more accurate pollsters over the last 2 election cycles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, I talk with the founder and executive director of Iraq and Afghanistan Vets of America, Paul Rieckhoff. Don't go anywhere.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
We stand America strong.
United we stand.
Paul Rieckhoff is the founder and executive director of Iraq and Afghanistan Vets of America and hosts the podcast Angry Americans. Paul, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So during the election night, I'm watching the returns come in. I happen to be sitting with a group of Navy SEALs. They were all very, very much pro-Trump. I don't think there was one who was rooting for Vice President Biden the whole night. The military is a pro-Trump group. Are they and are you not?
I don't think it's that simple. I think that the military is not a monolith, and they're a reflection of this country. So I think they're as diverse as the 50 states in the union. You've got folks who are Republicans, Democrats, and everything in between. Traditionally, the Republicans have done better among the active duty, but Trump's support, according to the latest Military Times poll, has been falling.
From what, Paul? Paul, I mean, I'm not trying to listen. By the way, I thank you for your service, but falling from what? I generally think the military favors Trump in this race.
Yeah, I mean, just over 50%, and it's gone down over the last couple of months. You know, after the incidents with the Russian bounties, after the attacks on John McCain, after conflicts with General Mattis and other high-ranking military officials, the reality is it's been dropping. Now that may change on election day. It's traditionally been a stronghold, but they're definitely not a monolith, and you've seen that in the elections. You've got Democrats and Republicans running on both sides. Over 200 folks are running in congressional and Senate races across the country from both parties who served in the military. So we think they can be a unifier. I think that's an important point here. No matter who wins this election, I think veterans are going to be key to bring this country together and to find ways to bring them forward.
You know, we're fortunate to have the veterans in yourself, and we thank them countlessly. I wear a flag pin. I respect that pin because I respect the country, I respect the flag, and I respect our military. President Trump seems to be the guy who respects the flag, too. I mean, he literally talked about putting someone in prison if you burn the flag, putting him in prison for up to a year. He defends the flag against the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball when they're kneeling, disrespecting the flag. Does that strike a tone with you at all?
Yeah, I don't think it's that simple. I mean, I think everybody supports the flag. Everybody supports this country. I don't think any party or any candidate owns the flag, owns the military, owns our national defense. I don't think either party or President Trump should take the military vote for granted. I think both parties got to work for it. And what I've seen, honestly, Eric, is that veterans in the military are increasingly independent and unaffiliated. That's a lot of what I focus on in my podcast. People who feel like both political parties have abandoned them. They want to see people put country first and party second. And I think especially with this divisive election, you're going to see more and more veterans unaffiliated, abandoning parties and looking for folks who are going to clearly put country first, not just the cloth, but also our values, and making sure that they can bring people together and defend against our enemies. I think it's important for people to remember our enemies love seeing this division. They love seeing this conflict. And whether Trump or Biden win, they got to bring people together because Putin, North Korea, the Iranians, China, they love seeing Americans fight. And the more that happens, the weaker we are.
No doubt. And they are existential threats to us. But then you look at President Trump, who has spent the money to refurbish a lot of the equipment, a lot of the ammunition. He's the one who's spending for the military. Typically, Democrats don't necessarily put the military and defense spending on a higher hierarchy than they do some of the other social programs.
Well, the reality is defense spending has increased no matter who's been in charge, really, since 9/11, and at astronomical rates. So Congress has got to pass it. The president's going to push for it. Trump definitely talks a lot about defense spending. There's a fallacy out there that we didn't have ammunition. That's just untrue. I know Trump likes to talk about that a lot, but you got to poke a hole in that one and recognize our military has ammunition. They're strong. They're holding the line right now. The National Guard is being deployed around the country. Right. And if we talk about counting votes, I think it's really important to remember one thing. In the last election, 250,000 active duty military voted by mail out of 1 million veterans. So at a million active duty.
Okay.
So as these votes are counted, remember, those are tens of thousands of folks that are serving in Afghanistan and around the country right now. No matter what party or candidate you vote for, count those votes and recognize their voices.
Yeah, you and I may don't see eye to eye on some of these things with regards to left and right, but we will tell you, we do thank you for your service. Paul Rieckhoff, everybody.
Appreciate you, Eric. Thank you.
We'd hate for you to miss an episode of America This Week, United We Stand. Make sure to set your DVR. Go to facebook.com/America Bolling, all one word, to find out when we air in your city. We have a complete list at the top of the page. Also, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you missed this show or want to rewatch an interview, you can catch them all right there.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand Americans.
United we stand.
We stand Americans.
United we stand.
America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, points out how rough and tumble politics shape opinion in every region in our country. We tell American stories, stories that touch our people, determine our politics, focus on the future of America.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week. Thanks for joining me for another episode of America This Week, United We Stand. This historic race for the White House and Congress will be sure to shape our nation and our politics for years to come. Like everything in 2020, the election proved to be a wild ride. Have a great night, everybody.